Perpetual, my inflation of February is still, I think we still have those inflation figure go high slightly. I don't think that the kind of the what we saw in terms of inflation coming down from 34% to 28% was due to any market, but it was just due to the rebasing, and there's no economy in the world that use rebasing to bring down inflation. So food inflation is still high, even from that report, even after the reduction in inflationary figure due to rebasing. We still have a lot of inflationary pressure that are still there. So for me, I think I'm still thinking inflation will still be high. And maybe slightly food inflation might come down if you look at the consumer price index that was released by the CBN. There seems to be an uptick in agricultural activities. So definitely you will expect that the cost of some of these products will come down. But I don't think it will bring down inflation drastically, like 10%, like what we saw during the rebasing. But I believe that some of these goods will come down, especially agricultural output, those that are manufactured here in Nigeria, or those that are produced here in Nigeria. Why I don't have so much confidence to see that large 10% increase because of the FX challenge are still there. You saw it looks like if we're going to stability at 1,500, and that was due to CBN intervention. We've seen that intervention have stopped. We've seen that the rate has also begun to go up against the parallel market. We're doing almost 1,600, and official market are going to 1,510. So that's why I think the rate will still, inflation will still be high. But again, I expect food inflation to come down.
All right, just say inflation will still be high, but I mean, I'm looking at numbers. What numbers are you looking at? It's currently 24.48. So are you looking at 24.58 or 24.78? What are you looking at?
Well, Patricia, if I factor in food inflation, which is the highest cause of inflation and pressure, I think I'll be looking at 24.78 for me. I think that will really be a huge performance for the government. Remember that the president has said he want to hit a 15% inflation rate by the end of this year. So at 24.78, I think is still early days. That was just the first quarter of the year. And if you put that figures all together, you will see that we reduce inflation almost by 12%. And if you are able to do that quarter to quarter basics, then definitely you will achieve your target.
Right, so talking about inflation, I mean, I want us to look at this. Which of these do you think impacts inflation the more? Is it maybe the reduction in fuel prices or the foreign exchange stability?
Foreign exchange stability, Perpetua. I keep saying it because about 70% of what we consume, we import. Even when we are not importing, the machineries that are used to make it into finished product, we import into the country. So for me, food inflation is normally driven by FX and FX stability. So yes, you would have seen that it would have come down in terms of because of the low cost in PMS. But you shouldn't forget that this is largely driven because of the naira dollar policy of the current administration, the naira to dollar crude policy between the NNPCL and Dangote Refinery and other private refineries. And just like your correspondent interviewed the trader in the market, and he said that a lot of foodstuff must have come down, but transportation is not coming down because, again, there are other factors, bad road network, levies, where these vehicles move from one state to another. Every state seems to have one levy or the other to charge them on the road. So, and then we still have the insecurity. Some of these farmers are still paying levies to be able to go to their farm to farm. So that is why the main driver, the key driver of inflation in Nigeria as it stands now is FX. And the CBN also have said that in their last banking committee meeting. And the same thing, even if you look at the report that came in from Chatham House, they talk that inflation is largely driven by FX like volatility. So the CBN have their work cut out. I wish they could sustain the momentum in terms of stabilizing the FX rate, but that can only be stabilized through them injecting more liquidity into the retail sector of the FX market. And if you look at the four major states processes, or the four major key driver of effects into the Nigerian economy, sale of crude oil, foreign direct investors, portfolio investors, and Nigeria in the diaspora. If you look at those four major key drivers of crude oil into Nigeria, you realize that those four major key drivers are having challenges being able to meet up with those inflow into our country. So I think major challenges for me is FX is the key driver of inflation in Nigeria.
All right. Okay. So just before we wrap it all up with you right there, with inflation still high and the naira fluctuating, do you sort of expect the Central Bank of Nigeria to adjust interest rates in its next monetary policy meeting?
If you listen to their last monetary policy meeting, I think they were taken aback by that inflationary pressure, that reduction that came in. They weren't expecting it, and so they left rates the way it is. Will we see rate goes up? I don't think they want to take rate go up. Like I keep saying, hiking interest rate or is not the key issue of Nigerian inflationary pressure. And I think they have come to terms with that. Hiking rate is always killing one of the most vibrant sectors in the Nigerian economy, which is the informal sector, that's largely driven by cash, either through loans or through day-to-day transactions. So when you begin to look at key inflationary orthodox inflationary measures of reducing liquidity in the system, hiking interest rate, that means cost of funding goes high, cost of goods services go high, inflation will go high, then coupled with exchange rate volatility. So I expect that the CBN will leave rate the way it is, but they will make sure that they try to fight to make sure that FX is stable. Because now what we have in the FX rate, I don't think is what we call stability. It's in the corridor of stability, whereby you see today's 1.5, today's 1.6, today's 1,550. So they will work towards making it stable. And remember that their next meeting is not coming anytime soon until sometime in May. So definitely, I think by that time they would have been able to get their act together and make sure that they are able to stabilize the exchange rate. So for me, I think exchange rate is what the CBN should be working on.
All right. So I'd like you to speak to us about, the sticky issues that sort of continue to affect Nigeria's inflation and how well you think they are being addressed in 30 seconds.
They are not being, I mean, you only give what you have. I can tell you. So food inflation, we are seeing that the government is doing a lot. Farmers are able to go to the farms, whether through paying of levy or through being guided by security personnel. Fantastic. We are seeing that improvement in that area. Insecurity is not as high. It used to there are soft targets here and there, but you can still see there's improvement in the security aspect. So you have seen production in terms of agricultural output come up. And yeah, they've been able to intervene in the FX market to bring that stability to corridor stability that where we are today. But I think they still need to do more. And the more they have to do is not in their hand, because crude oil sale must improve. Today, crude oil price is coming down. Crude oil production is also down. So it's a difficult part for them to be. But I think they've done, the monetary side are doing all they can to maintain stability in the exchanges, either administratively, either be injection of liquidity. But they need more liquidity to be able to stable this exchange rate. That, for me, is where the challenge is with them at the moment.
Well, that's quite interesting. So what indicators should we sort of watch moving forward to see whether, inflation, to determine whether inflation will truly moderate or increase in the coming months? We're not talking about February now, March.
Virtual. I say it again. FX.
Interesting. So, beyond whatever it is the monetary policy or the monetary authority is doing, what else can be done to sort of improve that space? Talking about the fiscal space here now.
Exactly. So I think when you talk about the physical space, they have a lot to do. Number one, they have to improve security. Number two, we have the tax reform bill is here today, is here tomorrow. They need to make sure they come out with that clear, so that farmers or transporters are not paying levies when they go to one state or the other. Secondly, that big deal that we're expecting, that removal of tariff in household products and especially agricultural products into the country, we need to get to that that policy. We need to hit that policy. The government need to hit the ground running with that policy. That is what helped Kenya to be able to fight inflation. If we have to fight inflation, we need to deal with the high tariff that some of these agricultural outputs are being charged. It's either the machineries are being charged high because of exchange rate and high tariff. So I think government should go to that stable tariff and removal of tariff in those agricultural products and other products that impact the ordinary Nigerian.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mohammed. Thank you so much for your time on the show. I'm afraid we have to go now. Thank you for your time.